Hello and welcome to this lesson on JavaScript introduction. I just downloaded a file called template HTML5 and now I'm going to rename it. I am working on a Macintosh, so if you work on a PC with Windows, your system is going to look slightly different, but hopefully you'll be able to follow along. So I'm going to rename this. I want to call it hello world.html. And the system is asking me if I do want to add that extension. I have to click and say yes, I do. It's very important that you give your HTML file the extension .html. Now the next step is to open this file with the code editor. So I right click on this file and go to open with, and once again I'm working on a Macintosh and I downloaded Text Wrangler, and that's the software I'll be using. If you didn't download Text Wrangler, you'll be going to Text Edit. The difference between these two is Text Edit is the default editor on a Mac, but which is perfectly fine to use, so like a notepad on Windows, but it doesn't differentiate doesn't color code the code. So Text Wrangler is much easier and helps you find mistakes. So I'm going to come down here and open Text Wrangler, and that's what my file looks like. So the first thing I'm going to do, change the title and go from untitled. I'm going to call it my first JavaScript, and I'm going to go into the body section and I'm going to enter an h1 tag that says hello world. The first thing I want you to notice is that I am indenting my code. Everything that's inside the head section, it's spaced with a tab, and everything that's inside the body is spaced with a tab as well. I think that indenting code really helps you. It makes no difference to the browser if the code is indented or not, but it's essential for a programmer to indent the code so that it can really have an easier time understanding what we've done. And it becomes a little bit more complicated as we go along, so this is just the beginning. So if you indent it here or not, it probably will be the same, but as I said, as we get more involved with code, it's going to make our life much easier. So next step, I want to save what I changed, so I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut, Command S on a Mac, and it's almost like universal with any type of software. So if you work on a PC, it probably will be Control S, or you can go up to the file menu, go to save. Next thing I want to do, go back to the content of that folder, and I want to open that file that I call hello world.html. I want to open it with a browser. Notice that next to the name I have an icon that corresponds to Firefox. That's because my browser is Firefox. My default browser is Firefox. I set it that way. So if your default browser is Safari or Internet Explorer, you're going to have a different icon. I strongly suggest that you make Firefox your default browser for this class. In either case, you want to make sure that that's the browser you use when you open up this file. So if your default browser is not Firefox, you might have to right click on your file and open with and look for Firefox. In my case, excuse me, I can just double click on the name of the file. And here I am. I see that the title is my first JavaScript. And here we have the content of the h1 tag, hello world. Now let's go back to the editor, and I'm going to start to add some JavaScript. So we're going to use the script tag to do that. Right after the title, I'm going to enter line return, enter script. And right away I'm going to close that. Inside these two tags, I'm going to enter alert. I'm actually going to make a little bit more space just so that it's clear to see. Alert is a function, it's a JavaScript function that creates a pop-up message. For the moment, just take that and just go along with the information I'm giving you. I'm not going to give you a lot of details because we'll go into them a little bit more next week. After alert, you're going to have a set of parentheses and semicolon. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to have the text that will be inside the pop-up message. And I'm going to say, hello world. Notice that I have, oops, I mismatched the quotes. So I have an opening quote and a closing quote. We'll see a bit more about quotes next week. For the moment, just make sure that if you use a single quote, you have to have a matching single quote closing. So I'm going to save this, go to Firefox, I'm going to reload the page, and here we have the title, once again, my first JavaScript, and this is the pop-up message that was created by the command alert. And inside that pop-up window, we have the text that we enter inside the quotes, hello world. When I click OK, then we have the h1 tag being rendered. So now let's go back to the editor, and I'm gonna go inside the body section. So far we added JavaScript to the head section, but that's really not the only place where you can add JavaScript. So we're gonna go right after the h1 tag and enter carriage return. I'm gonna use our script tag again, and right away close it. I'm gonna use another alert message. I'm gonna say alert, hello again. Make sure that we enter the semicolon right after, and I'm going to save this, Command S or Control S, go back to the browser, and let's reload the file. So we have our first alert message, hello world. We click OK, and now we have the h1 tag rendered, and the second alert message says hello again. Now here Firefox is asking me if I want to stop this behavior, so this message is popping up. Let's leave that unchecked and click OK. Now from the browser point of view, things happen sequentially, although they seem to appear to happen at the same time. Let's go back into the code editor and look at this again. So when a browser encounters an HTML file, it reads it line by line. So after this gibberish on top here, it finds the title, and so it renders the title, then the first bit of JavaScript code, and then sees the h1 tag, and we have the second box popping up. Now they seem simultaneous to us because it's so fast, but really they're done one after the other one. And just to make the point a little bit more clear, I'm going to add a paragraph after this. So I'm going to enter my P, and I'm going to say w3schools.com is a good online resource for JavaScript, for learning JavaScript. I'm going to close my paragraph, maybe put a period at the end of the sentence. I'm going to save this and go to Firefox and reload the page again. First alert message, hello world, h1 tag being rendered, second alert message, and now the paragraph we wrote. So this hopefully helps you understand a little bit more how this works. So JavaScript is executed when it is encountered by the browser, and the browser reads an HTML file line by line. Going back to the code editor again. So if I had another bit of code after the paragraph, another bit of JavaScript code, it'd be executed after that paragraph. So it's very important that you understand this concept, because oftentimes very confusing. It doesn't matter where you put your JavaScript code, but wherever it is, that is where it is going to be executed. Now, typically, you don't want to mix JavaScript with HTML, just like you try to put all the CSS style inside an external file. And you can do the same thing with JavaScript. Now we're going to go back into the head section, and actually we first need to create a new JavaScript file. So I'm going to go up to File, New Text Document. So whatever software you're going to use, create a new blank page. And inside the blank page, we're going to enter alert, no script tags. parenthesis and semicolon, and inside the parenthesis we're going to say greetings everyone, close my quote. Now I need to save this file. I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to save it in the same folder where I have my HTML file. So for me, it's already set up that way. Now I'm going to call it greetings, and I'm going to change the extension from txt to JS for JavaScript. Now this is a plain text file, but I need to give it the correct extension for this to work properly. So make sure it goes inside the same folder, greetings.js, and hit save. Let's go back inside hello-world.html, and now we're going to add another line after the first alert call. I'm going to enter script, and if I can only spell it right. Now at this point the JavaScript is not inside this HTML file, it's in a separate file, so the syntax is slightly different. So after the script word, we're going to enter src for source equal and open and close quotes. Inside those quotes we're going to give it this greetings JS. Now because this file is in the same folder as our HTML file, just the name excuse me of the file is enough. If this was in a separate folder before the name of the file, I would have to enter the path to that file. For a moment, just enter this, and I'm going to have my closing script tag, and notice that there's nothing in between the script tags. There's no text in there, just an opening and closing. I'm going to save this, go back to Firefox, and reload this page. First alert box, okay. Now second alert box, this is inside the file called greetings.js. It says greetings everyone. Click OK. H1 tag rendered. Third alert box that says hello again. And finally the paragraph. Let's go back to the code editor for one last thing here. I'm going to go inside the body section. So far, we've only been adding JavaScript by using the alert function, so that it's not really adding anything to the HTML code itself. So now we're going to add something. I want to create a little bit more space because I'm going to add a line inside the script tags. So alert is going to be on a line by itself now. And right below, I'm going to enter the name of a new function. Document.write, parenthesis, semicolon. So document.write adds HTML into the document. So I want to use, it's a very similar syntax to alert, it's just a different function name. So I'm going to enter an H2 tag. I'm going to use my quotes. I'm going to say H2. Oh, I'm going to say it is a beautiful day. I'm going to close the H2 tag and close my quote. So this is just plain HTML because I want to enter that inside my document. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go to Firefox and once again reload everything. First alert box, hello world. Second alert box, that's the command inside a file called greetings.js. It says greetings everyone. H1 tag being rendered. Hello again. That's a third alert message. And now we have the H2 tag that was created with JavaScript and the paragraph. Okay. And I think that kind of pretty much covers what I wanted to do for this introduction to JavaScript. Now, very important, how do you catch errors? You know, when you program, when you start coding, it's a given that you'll be making syntax mistakes. So we need to have a tool that's going to help us catch those mistakes to make our life a little bit easier. And that's the reason why I asked you to download a plugin called Firebug. So if I go back to Firefox, you might be able to see on the bottom of my screen here, there's a icon and it says Firebug. That's an icon that you should be able to see on your browser. It might not be at the bottom of the screen. I actually moved it down there, so yours might be more on the top right corner. So either way, click on it and it should change color. There we go. Now it's oops. There we go. It's yellow, and I have this window that pops up that I can drag. What I'm seeing here actually, it's a way to look at the code, not only HTML code and CSS, but more important for this class, we can catch mistakes. So I want to click on console right here and have the arrow tab selected. Let's now add errors on purpose to our code and see if we can catch them with Firebug. So let's go back to the code editor and let's just remove the closing quote from document right inside the parentheses. So let's say we forgot to close to have matching quotes for that bit of code. I'm going to save this. I mean, the pink, everything being pink here is kind of a dead giveaway. There is something wrong with this, because if I actually go ahead and put my closing quote again, notice that the parentheses, semicolon, turn black. So if I forget to have my closing quote, just look at this, I can tell there is a mistake. So just get a little bit more familiar with ways that the editor is telling you that something is not quite right. So I'm going to save it with this mistake, and I'm going to go back to Firefox, and I have my Firebug console showing and all the errors. Now I'm going to reload this page. First alert box, okay. Second alert box inside greetings.js, okay. My H1 tag, and now we're missing the third alert box, and down here Firebug is telling us there is a mistake. Sometimes these mistakes, these messages are kind of hard to interpret. Here, for example, it says unterminated string literal. Doesn't quite make a lot of sense, but it's pointing at the opening quote, and it's kind of telling you, well, you forgot to put a closing quote. Firebug doesn't know what a closing quote is supposed to go, but just knows it is expecting to have one. If you want to, you can actually click on this link and it tells you exactly where on your code that problem is. And it's right here as we expected. Okay, so let's go back to our code editor and fix that. And here we are. I'm going to save that and go back to Firebug and reload this. First alert box, second, and now third one. So everything worked just fine. I have to make sure they stay on console right here. Now let's see another type of mistake. For example, another typical mistake is to misspell the name of a function. So we're going to remove the ending T for the function alert. So we're going to have alert. I'm going to save this and go back to Firefox, reload. First alert box, second alert box, and it's skipping once again the third alert box because we have an error says the alert is not defined. So there isn't a function called alert. So you can see how useful Firebug is in finding errors, because I said when you have more than 5 lines of code, chances are you'll make a spelling mistake of some kind. Let's go back and fix our error. And the same goes for unmatched parentheses and so forth. You will encounter kind of strange mistakes or strange error messages. The more you see them, and you'll see plenty, like I will as we go along with the class, you become more familiar with the message terminology, and it will help you to find them and catch them. So let's fix that. And go back to Firefox, make sure that everything's working. Once again, going through the whole thing, and here we are. And that concludes the first lesson. Once again, I just want to point out that w3schools.com is definitely a very good online resource for learning JavaScript. You might use it quite a bit for HTML and CSS. I just want to warn you that there are errors sometimes in the information presented, and some of the information is slightly outdated. I will say that HTML and CSS tutorials are much better than JavaScript, but it's still one of the best. The JavaScript tutorial at w3schools.com is one of the best around. So we'll be using it quite a bit. I definitely encourage you to use it, to go through the tutorial before you do your quiz and your assignment. Until next time.